So Jake Paul just had yet another pathetic excuse of a boxing match to yet again boost his fragile ego that will shatter at the slightest inconvenience, which is why he spends so much money to make sure things go his way. Now, I'm not trying to get sued and say that he fixes his fights when I say that. In my opinion, there would be no reason to fix his fights, seeing as that they're not against quote-unquote real competition, excluding Tommy. But even just accusing him of doing that would achieve the same result as if you had actually proved he was faking his fights, which I don't think he's doing. But nonetheless, when and if you accuse him of doing so, instead of just being like, well, sticks and stones, buddy, and words will always make me cry, remember that. But instead of just ignoring the hate because no matter what anyone says, he is still going to be the same shitty Jake Paul before you said what you said, he will literally resort to suing you to get you to keep your mouth shut. Now, before we get into that, I don't know if you guys saw the clip, but Jake Paul was on Piers Morgan's talk show and things got a little heated after old man Piers started talking his shit.
People don't realize I'm a real killer. I really fucking do this shit. YouTube this, YouTube that, Disney that. This shit is not a joke. I'm knocking out the best of the best, beating all of these people time in and time again. And it's about time that you old heads and all these fucking boxers who think they know about the sport put some respect on my name.
But the problem is the only proper boxer you fought was Tommy Fury, and he beat you. And he's not even the best. He's not even the best fighter in his family.
We can make up hypotheticals. You should go to the gym. If you went to the gym,
I've been twice this week.
Okay.
I think you're a great YouTuber, a great influencer. I admire what you've tried to do in boxing, but I do think when you actually come up against a proper, serious boxer, and I suspect that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. may be that person, it could all come crashing down.
Piers, is that you think that your opinion matters.
Well, why are you doing my show if it doesn't?
Oh, I'm just taking your audience to sell pay-per-views. I don't give a fuck about your show. You dumbass. This is a fucking business enterprise. Buy the pay-per-view on Saturday, June 28th, me versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Thank you. Tune in, everybody.
Now, if you're letting Piers Morgan get under your skin like that, then you have got to be the biggest pussy in the world. I'm not saying Jake Paul is, but had someone let Piers Morgan get under their skin like that, they'd have to be the biggest pussy in the world. Again, I'm not saying Jake Paul is, but like this dude's 90 years old, making someone who is arguably more successful crash out, and not only that, hang up mid-call. 100% as soon as Jake hung up the call, he smacked his phone off the table and then let out the most ferocious scream like a mom who just lost custody of their kids. Very specific scream. You'll know what I'm talking about when you unfortunately hear it. But having someone like Piers literally laugh in your face as you're trying to be quick with your comebacks is just about as lame as you can get. But this was, I believe, on the Thursday before the fight last week. Now, me personally, I didn't watch the fight as I was watching something a million times more exciting.
Well, he's already busted up.
But I didn't even need to watch the fight to know what the result was going to be. Yes, Julio Cesar Chavez is an experienced boxer, but again, Jake chose to fight someone who is on an obvious decline. For starters, he lost to Anderson Silva, someone Jake Paul beat having a 6-0 record. Julio fought him when he was 52-5. And then his next fight was his last quote-unquote real fight against someone who has now lost 10 of their last 12 fights. 3 of those coming before his loss to Chavez Jr. So whoever is helping Jake with picking his next opponents, they are doing their research, because he's not just picking people who are taking it easy, he's picking people that are most likely going to retire after their Jake Paul fight. That's how pathetic these fights are. Like Julio himself said that he was going to retire from boxing if he lost. That's literally his way of saying, this is it, guys. Like, if you're going this deep into your career and you're losing to Jake Paul, unless you're beating fucking Terrence Crawford next, then that was your last fight ever until someone pays you for one of those gimmick fights against someone just as old as you. But because Jake has this pattern of fighting people who aren't up to par with the kind of people he should be fighting, there are going to be a lot of people who are skeptical about these opponents. Like, come on, dog. Mike Tyson, I can guarantee you he only did that to try and one-up his brother for fighting Mayweather. But Logan losing to Mayweather was more respectable than beating up a 60-year-old man to give yourself that little ego boost. Like, if you're beating the people Jake's beating and you're calling out people who are fighting for world titles, then Jake must have the kind of CTE that develops twice as fast, because he's calling out the best boxers in the world. Not even because he thinks he can beat them, but because no matter how much of a boxer he says he is always going to be that kid on YouTube YouTube who's trying to go viral. And what better way to go viral than by calling out the best boxers in the world right now in the hopes that just one of them acknowledges him in the slightest so that he can over-exaggerate the fuck out of his response. Oh, what's that? You think I need more experience to fight you? Do you know I'm the greatest thing since boxing, since Muhammad Ali did his thing on the court? He actually said that. That was a quote by him.
I've done this in only 12 fights where Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, Marvin Hagler, like you can name any of these people, fought nobodies for their first 15 to 20 fights and no one even knew who they were.
Is this dude calling these people nobodies? There's a big difference between nobodies and people past their prime. And even then, Jake doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Muhammad Ali's first 15 fights were all against people who ended their careers with winning records except for 3 of them. Jake is fighting people who've been fighting for so long, they literally no longer care about their record and are just looking forward to the paycheck that comes with fighting Jake Paul. But because of all this, people are going to think that his fights are staged. Yes, it is a small amount of people, but they are out there, and one of them just so happens to be Piers Morgan, who said, breaking, like it's not a personal tweet. Alright, boomer. But he says, I had a better fight with Jake Paul on Thursday than the unwatchable farce that took place tonight. This guy's lining his pockets with buckets of money, but he's killing boxing with this boring staged bullshit against older fighters way past their prime. Now, anyone who would see that knows that this is just Piers talking shit. I doubt he actually thinks the fights are staged, and even if he does, he puts breaking before his tweets like it's not coming from his personal account. Let the man ramble about nonsense. He's gonna forget about what he said the next day anyways. But what's funny is that whoever this is, I'm going to blur out their name because I'm going to say he had Jake Paul's dick so far down his throat it was poking at the back of him like he had a tail when he said this. But whoever this guy is was like, how dare this old British fuck disrespect my Jakey poo? Not on my watch, mister, and then replies to this tweet with a totally not gay response. This claim is baseless and irresponsible. Last night's fight versus Chavez Jr. was a fully sanctioned 10-round cruiserweight bout, officiated by the California State Athletic Commission with official judges, no staging/rigging, just hard work and a legit win. To say otherwise not only undermines the integrity of the sport, but is defamatory and causes reputable damages to MVP, Jake Paul, and the commission. Enough is enough. We will be exploring all options, including legal action, to hold accountable those spreading such deliberate and harmful lies. Now, this is actually bleeped out because the tail thing, but this guy works with Jake Paul. That's all I can say. But Jake Paul replied to this, saying, after years of letting it slide as just haters being haters, I have asked my team to vigorously go after anyone who makes up lies about my boxing career. Expect to get served, you pigs! Dog, it was an old man stating his opinion. I don't think anyone in the boxing community changed their opinion on you after reading that tweet. Especially after he put breaking. Like, nah, he put breaking before his personal tweet. The fuck, this guy's old as fuck. Now, like I said, I don't think Jake Paul fakes his fights because there would be no reason for him to. He is significantly better now than the fighters he is going against. But trying to be like, I've let the haters be haters for too long, when he constantly does things to try and get back at the haters, is actually hilarious. Like, he can hype himself up all he wants, saying that not even Ali is doing it like him, and it's like, yeah, that's right, he isn't doing it like you. They went through their boxing career actually fighting people that were trying to win and not just get a fat paycheck. Except for those 3 guys. There's like 2 guys who fought one time ever, and it was against Muhammad Ali. Something to tell your grandkids. But it's stuff like this that Jake doesn't realize makes everyone make fun of him that much more. Like, the top reply to Jake's tweet was this one of someone asking AI if Jake Paul has fought any current or relevant boxers in their prime during their career. And AI was like, nope, I don't think so. Not to my knowledge, and I have all the knowledge on the internet ever. And then the rest of the replies are literally just talking shit. I didn't see one positive comment. At some point though, Jake has to realize that he is nowhere near the boxer he thinks he is, and that his opponents are people who shouldn't even be fighting. But then again, Jake's mind can literally not do that, and will just have Jake think that his 12-1 record was against 12 of some of the best fighters in the world. Sure, Jake, whatever you want us to think. Just don't sue us, you know what I mean? I'll think whatever you want. You're black? Sure, Jake, you're black. I'll think that, just don't sue me. So tomorrow though, don't sue me. Peace.